what if I told you that a beautiful ancient prayer wasn't just a prayer, but a line of code? And that verses praising gods were actually a secret method for storing some seriously complex modern mathematics? Okay, let's dive right in because we are about to unpack an incredible system where sacred hymns and scientific constants were basically one and the same. So, have a look at this verse. On the surface, it's this beautiful rhythmic line of Sanskrit poetry. It's a prayer to Lord Krishna. But here's the kicker. What if I told you that hidden inside these very syllables is a number? And not just any number, a number so precise, so advanced, it seems totally out of place for its time. It looks like a prayer, sure, but is that all it is? Okay, so how is this even possible, right? Well, to get it, we have to travel back in time, way back to ancient India. Think about the challenge these scholars were facing. They had all this incredibly complex data. We're talking astronomical tables, math formulas, exact dates, but no books, no hard drives, not even reliable paper. So what do? Well, their solution was just genius. They didn't invent some new storage device. They perfected the one they already had, language. And this is where we meet the star of our show, the Kaṭapayādi system. It's this really elegant code, an alpha-syllabic cipher, that basically assigns a number to each Sanskrit consonant. This was a total game changer. It let mathematicians and astronomers take these long, clunky numbers and weave them into actual words, into poetry that was easy to remember and could be passed down from teacher to student, generation after generation. All right, so how does this thing actually work? If we want to crack this code, we need the key, right? And the logic behind it is actually surprisingly simple. It really just boils down to a map, a direct link between letters and numbers. Just look at how this is laid out. Every single digit, 1 through 9 and 0, maps to a whole group of consonants. So for example, the number 1 could be represented by ka, ta, pa, or ya. And that flexibility, that's the secret sauce right there. It's what lets a poet turn a string of numbers into real, meaningful words, instead of just a bunch of random sounds. Okay, the decoding process is just 3 simple steps. First, you take the consonants and swap them for their numbers. Easy. Second, you just ignore any vowels that are on their own. And third, and this is the classic twist, you read the number you get from right to left. That's how you get the final value. It's a simple reversal to lock it in. Though, as you'll see, some of these poets were so clever, they even built the reversal right into the phrase itself. All right, enough theory. Let's put this key to use. One of the coolest things they used this for wasn't even secret messages, but for something like perfect record keeping. We're talking about creating these rock-solid timestamps that were literally baked right into a text. So here we have the final phrase from a super famous devotional text, the Narayanayam, which was written back in 1587. The phrase itself, Ayur Arogya Sohyam, is a blessing. It means long life, health, and happiness. A beautiful sentiment, right? But hidden inside that blessing is a date. Okay, let's apply the rules. We've got the consonants, ya, ra, ga, sa, and hya. Those map to 1, 2, 2, 1, 7, and 1. Now hold on. Remember that right to left rule? Well, check this out. The poet here was so clever that they built the phrase so the number already reads correctly left to right. That's how flexible the system is. So what we get is 1, 7, 1, 2, 2, 1, 0. So what on earth is this giant number? It's what's known as the Kaladina Sankhya. It's a running count, a precise tally of every single day that had passed since the start of their current age, the Kali Yuga. Think of it like the ultimate digital signature, proving the exact day the work was finished. You couldn't fake it, and because it's a memorable phrase, you couldn't forget it. I mean, timestamping is pretty impressive, right? But the scholars from the Kerala School of Astronomy and Mathematics, they took this system to an entirely different level. They weren't just marking dates, they were encoding the very laws of the universe. And that brings us to this guy, Madhava of Sangamagrama. A total genius. We're talking the 14th century, and he's already developing infinite series for things like sine, cosine, arctangent, stuff that wouldn't be discovered in Europe for centuries by people like Newton. And how did his school make sure these incredibly complex values were never lost? You guessed it, poetry. Let's look at another one, Srestham nama varishthanam. Again, seems like a simple devotional phrase, something like praise to the best of the best. But if you were a student in Madhava's school, you knew this wasn't just praise. It was a number, a very, very precise one. When you run it through the decoder, the phrase spits out a series of numbers that translates to an incredibly precise angle. 224 arc minutes, 50 arc seconds, and 22 subseconds. It's basically a super-duper precise way to measure a teeny tiny slice of the sky. And this wasn't just some random number they encoded for fun. No way. This was a crucial value, pulled from a much larger table of sine values. It was absolutely essential for making their astronomical predictions shockingly accurate. We're talking about charting the planets and stars with a precision that was just unheard of. Okay, let's circle all the way back to that verse from the very beginning. We've seen the system can handle dates, it can handle complex trig values, but what about maybe the most famous and most mysterious number in all of math? Here it is again, that beautiful, intricate line of poetry praising Krishna. But you know the drill by now, right? There's something hiding in there, so let's run it through the system one last time and see the secret it's been holding right in front of us. When you decode all those consonants, this is what you get: an incredibly long, non-repeating decimal. And if you've ever taken a math class, you know exactly what this is. That's right. Hidden in that one line of devotional poetry is the value of pi, accurate to 31 decimal places. I mean, that is just astonishing. That level of precision was centuries ahead of anyone else. And honestly, it's way more than you'd ever need for any practical calculation, even today. It just shows this incredible mastery of both math and language. So we've seen the what and the how, but that leaves us with maybe the most fascinating question of all. Why? Why go to all this trouble to use poetry? Why not just write the numbers down? Well, the answer reveals a kind of information security that you could argue is even better than what we have today. I mean, just think about it for a second. Our digital data, it's so fragile. It's all on servers that need power, they need maintenance. Files get corrupted, you get bit rot. A big solar flare could literally wipe out huge amounts of information. But the Vedic world tradition, they stored their data on the most durable hard drive ever created: the human mind, networked across generations. But here is the absolute genius of it all. The language itself had a built-in error correction system. See, Sanskrit poetry follows these super strict mathematical rhythms. So if you were a student reciting a verse and you got even one syllable wrong, the whole rhythm would break. It would just sound wrong. It's an instant data error flag. This ensured the information was passed down with perfect accuracy. It's like an ancient organic parity check. What this all really shows us is a completely different way of looking at the world, a worldview where art, science, and spirituality weren't in separate boxes. They were all woven together, just different languages trying to describe the same truth. A mathematical formula could be a prayer, and a prayer could hold a scientific constant. The search for knowledge was all one single unified quest. And that leaves us with a really powerful thought to end on. We've just cracked open a few examples of this incredible system, but there are thousands and thousands of these ancient texts still out there. So it really makes you wonder, right? If a simple prayer can hide the value of pi, what other secrets are still out there, just hiding in plain sight?